Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Now, last time we got together, I still have on my board our subject that we talked about. And we'll go through a slight review as we move into a new topic in a moment. So this is what we talked about last time. Did you know your brain is like Einstein's? And we added Plato, and you and I. And we found through looking for information that a person, a human, 10,000 years ago has the same genetic brain, and that's what this represents. It represents the body and how holistic it is, and it is genetically the same. The body-brain combination is the same as a human 10,000 years ago. And so if we took that child from 10,000 years ago and we raised it today, it'd be the same as us. And if we had Einstein and Plato and you and me, and we were raised together, we'd be the same. So but there is differences. So what is the difference between a person 10,000 years ago, or Plato, or Einstein, or you and me? If the difference is not physical, because this is all genetically the same, the difference between all of us is non-physical. And the difference between all of us then is in that realm of the non-physical, which we call mind or mental. So that's what this was about. And I'll reference that up there, and you'll get some more information about how you and Einstein and Plato and me are different and why. Oh, that was very interesting. And now we're going to go to another interesting topic now. And this is our subject for today. So let me I'll read it off my paper. Oh, it's going to be interesting. Little known truth. Did you know you change your genes? Do you know you change your genes? Now, I've already got a lot on here, so I'm going to explain it a little bit so that we can go on from here. Now, in the description, there's some detail in the beginning, but if you jump to the program, you won't have to go through all of that detail. And maybe you'll get something out of it. Well, here's what we got. We have the cell, because genes are in the cell. So we got to talk about the cell. Now, the cell, I want you to kind of relate it to a ship. In other words, a ship in the ocean. On a ship in the ocean, it has everything that it needs to survive. everything is on that ship to survive. So on the ship is a maintenance department, and there is also on board inside your cell a junkyard of spare parts. Because as the ship goes on through the water, and a cell is around a long time, so it's sailing a long time and needs a lot of things to survive. Now, if you look at a cell itself down here, you'll see that it has on the outside, I want you to kind of see all of these little antennae that have specific things to do that informs the cell of what's outside of it. Now, the body has only 5 antennae, which are our senses. A cell has many more because it's doing a lot more stuff to make the body operate. Now, each cell has in itself mechanisms that are the same as the body. In other words, the organs in the body, which are made up of cells, the individual cell also has functions like the organs in the body, and they are called organelles. And so inside the body is a lot of these organelles that have specific functions to do to make sure that the cell is healthy and survives. Now, in the center of the cell is the chromosomes and the DNA, and attached to that is the genes. So we're talking about changing the genes. Now, the genes are actually an expression within the cell. The genes are blueprints because it's just information. The genes and the DNA and the chromosomes is information on how the cell is made and how it's put together. So now, as our little ship is going through the ocean, and now you can look at all of these little organelles as sailors on the ship, and some of them are captains, and some of them is lieutenants, and some of them are swabbies. And so there's all kinds of things going on in the cell. And therefore, things wear out after a while, or they fall down and get broken, or they sprain an ankle, or something like that. And that's why you need a maintenance department. And in the maintenance department, they have all the facilities for making a new protein, a specific protein that is required by the body. But what they do need is the blueprint so that they can duplicate it. They need the gene, which is a blueprint. So here we have, I'm looking at this as a black box. The nucleus with the chromosomes, there's 46 of them. The DNA that is wrapped around histones. Within the DNA are the genes, and they're all kind of slugged inside of the nucleus. Now here's the thing. There was a time, not too long ago, when it was believed that, oh, you can't change genes, that's what you were born with, and you can't change them. New science says, particularly epigenetics, says, of course you can change them. because they wear out. The parts wear out. You have stem cells that produce other parts. You have the blueprint for making a brand new body or a cell inside of the nucleus. So of course you can change genes. Genes are what are expressed. Genes themselves are just blueprints. So what happens is when the cell reaches, and here's the cell membrane. You see, in a cell, the nucleus is not the brain. The nucleus is just information. What the brain is actually the membrane. Everything happens at the membrane. And the membrane of a cell is semi-permeable. So nourishment comes in and waste goes out. So you need a waste department too. You need a department that takes care of all of the waste from all of these sailors that are in here. And so the blood is the ocean. The blood of the body is the ocean that brings the nourishment, and also the cell dispenses the waste products into the cell. Into the blood. The blood goes through your liver. The blood gets purified, and waste products go out through the normal body functions. Everything operates holistically. And so that's the point that I want to make here. You change your genes. Now, the genes come out of the DNA. In the DNA are certain markers within the DNA. As the cell needs a particular blueprint or a particular information about a gene, information between the cell is partly on the membrane, is sent to, and it's spelled out in the description of the video. So information is sent to the cell, to the membrane in the cell, as to what's required. You see, we used to think that, oh no, you can't, nothing happens in here, and the DNA determines everything that's going to happen. Well, it doesn't. The DNA just sits there. The DNA is not a brain. It doesn't know what's going on in the cell until the cell tells it. And then when the cell tells it, it says, I need XYZ protein blueprint. And then the cell, the nucleus of the cell, where the chromosomes are, gets that information and goes through all of the chromosomes looking for the right DNA inside that DNA, unwrapping it, and getting to the right gene, which has a marker on this very long DNA strand. And it goes through and picks up those markers for that particular gene. Now, the gene is part of the DNA. It's in the DNA. So what happens is they take a copy. They don't take out the DNA. They take out a copy. Now, how do they do that? That's not complicated, but it's not within my program right now. But it separates it from DNA into RNA, and then that is the part, the RNA copy, that goes to the maintenance department of the cell to help it make a new protein or repair a protein. Also within the cell, there is a junkyard of spare parts. As one protein is repaired, you have spare parts. And they store those, the cell does, in kind of like a junkyard. And it can use those when needed for survival to take those used parts and put them back in to a protein to repair the protein, or whatever organelles require maintenance. Now, what is the cell living in? It's living like this little ship. It's living in the blood of the body. What's in the blood? Well, you have all kinds of chemicals. Depending on the chemicals in the body, which is the environment that the cell is in, the chemicals in the blood are determined by the body's environment. So, how do you change genes? Well, if we look at the body, when the body is stressed, it puts out a lot of stress hormones. And they go into the body, and that determines the environment that this little cell is trying to survive in. It's trying to survive, and it's picking up information from all of these antennae of the different chemicals that are in the blood and how they have to counteract any negative effects. It is in counteracting the negative effects on the cell that produces changes in the genes as required for the cell to survive. So it's like us. It's trying to survive. So, and it's doing that by changing the internal environment of the cell, because it's not because of what it's getting from the outside. So how do we change that? How do we make it easy on the cell? Well, when the body is stressed, a lot of negative hormones and other chemicals are released. It's also called your sympathetic nervous system as the body moves into the flight or fight response and puts many chemicals into the bloodstream to satisfy its need to survive. Now, most of the time, that fight or flight response is because of our interpretation of the outside environment. Now, how do we do that? The same as we always did, through what I call the standard model for the illusion. Your body takes in information from your senses, looks at that information, and says, I'm under attack, I'm in a bad way. So it fortifies itself with adrenaline and all kinds of stress hormones to make the body work faster, and it cuts down on the on your digestive system. It reduces your immune system. It does a lot of things to try to survive. And if it does, then you got to turn that system off. And it's not always turned off completely. So if you have anxiety in your life or depression in your life, it's an indication that you haven't turned off your fight or flight response completely. So as you do turn that down, you are balanced by the other part of the nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the parasympathetic releases different kinds of chemicals. And that's what goes into the blood, and that's what the cell is now picking up. Parasympathetic chemistry is your relaxation, is your rest and digestive part of the nervous system, where the body and at the cellular level can relax, can repair the damage done by the sympathetic nervous system as the body was trying to survive. But it's all related to your attitude. If your attitude is negative, and it doesn't matter how it gets that way, and it will get that way if you're under stress. If you have a negative attitude, you are negative in your blood right down to the cellular level. When you have a negative attitude, your cells struggle to survive. Now, the other side of that is your sympathetic nervous system, where your cells are happy, because that is a positive. When your parasympathetic nervous system is turned on, your cells are happy. They're dancing around, they're repairing stuff, they're getting the cell back to where it should be. Everybody, all the sailors are dancing around, singing songs, and ho, 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 the ship is moving through the sea without a bit of problem. Communicates with other ships, not a problem. It is the attitude that you carry on a constant level that determines your genetic expression through the genes in the cell. Longevity is related to your overall attitude. Not stress happens on a daily basis. You drop something on your foot, you're going to get stressed for a short period of time. But if you carry that stress for months, and some people for years. Now, how do I mean that? Well, there's a lot of people that have medication for anxiety, let us say, as an example. So they're taking medication for anxiety for 2, 3, 5, 10, and more years. And they have to take it. You know why? They believe if they don't take it, they're going to get anxious. So the belief that they have to take it is anxiety. And that means the sympathetic nervous system is not completely shut off. Which also means your cells are not completely at ease and are struggling to survive. Now, this idea that genes can change goes all the way back into the womb, into the zygon, the first cells that we have, and through all of the gestation. The cells will change their genes based upon the blood flowing through the system that they are encountering at that very critical point. Now, where is the blood? Blood is in the mother. So if mom is stressed, the cells are stressed. If mom is happy, the cells are happy. And so, unfortunately, mom has a lot to do with how the cells learn how to change their genetics in order to survive. So now let's paraphrase. The nucleus of the cell is not the brain. It's just information. It's a black box. You put information in, you get information out. The cell takes the blueprint that the nucleus has, and through its maintenance department repairs and makes new proteins, new organelles, and everything flows. Again, your attitude is going to determine how these cells survive. So give them a break. Begin to relax. Use forms of relaxation. Meditation is a good one. Prayer is a good one. There's all kinds that will help your cells feel happy and better. If you have a negative attitude, you think, well, I just have a negative attitude. No, you're negative right now to your cells, and your cells struggle. So be good to yourself. Change your attitude. Have a happy attitude. Enjoy your life. Quit holding on to the past. It doesn't exist anyway. Let go of what you don't need. And have a happy cell, which will give you a happy body and a pain-free body. Oh, there's much to talk about here in the illusion. And until we get together again, give that some thought. Look up in the a description. You can go further if you want. There's some references in there. And before we leave, just a comment. I couldn't find a good reference in A Course in Miracles. So this is one of the few ones I don't have a reference to the Course. There is, but it would take more to explain it than would be helpful to talk about it. Today we're having green tea with mint, and it's making my attitude very positive. Be good to yourself. We'll see you next time here in the illusion. Bye now.
Monday morning blues. The city life is getting me down, but I have to make it across town. Monday morning blues. Sound the wake up call alarm. Now I got to be up on the run. I refuse to be caught up in the stress that's using me. Till I crash and burn, I choose to see.